Hello, I'm Matt and I am a psychic medium, but it has taken me quite a while to feel comfortable saying that. In my podcast, I explore the up and down journey of getting comfortable with my psychic and mediumship abilities. I will be talking with guests about their experiences, whilst turning the spotlight onto myself and figuring out how I can embrace my gifts while living a normal life. So welcome to the Psychic Explorer. Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Well, as I'm talking to you, I should be working, but I've decided to take the day off as it is raining cat and dogs outside. I'd love to know where that phrase comes from. So as I'm not able to work, I thought, right, come home, do some more recording for the podcast, and I am really excited to bring you today's podcast episode because I am reminded that not everyone comes to this journey the same way. Some people come to this world of mediumship and psychic suddenly, while other people take an entire lifetime to arrive. And then there are some people who are almost born into it. And that is the case with my guest today. I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but Charlotte runs an online crystal shop. She attends mind, body and spirit fairs throughout the country, where she sells her amazing stock. I wanted to find out more about crystals from Charlotte because it is not a topic that I currently know a lot about. I was very conscious when I stepped into this world that I didn't want to go to full-blown woo-woo. I guess reflecting on it now, I was really conscious about, and I hate myself for saying this, and this is a theme that I have noticed within myself quite a while actually recently as I've been reflecting on these sort of episodes, but I was really conscious of how other people perceive me. I remember talking to a client and explaining to him that I was able to have these feelings, I was able to have this connection, and he said, oh wow, that must be amazing to have that connection. And then he went on to say something which didn't get my back up, but it sort of made me think, oh, okay, there's a limit to how much I can share here. And he said, well, as long as you don't start going into crystals, I don't understand all that stuff. And that just didn't sit right there, because that showed me there and then that there was a limit as to how much people were willing to accept. And I didn't want people to perceive me as fully drinking the Kool-Aid if I did start to show an interest in that part of spirituality. But part of exploring is being able to change your mindset, being able to evolve your thoughts. And I've come to the realization that these shiny little pebbles and rocks, for some people, they are just that, just pretty shiny rocks. But for others, they mean a hell of a lot more. They give people power, they give people belief. They are a physical manifestation of one's intentions. And like all rituals and, dare I say, spell work, there may not be anything in it. But you know what? If it gives you the power to put your intention or manifestation into something physical, to almost bring your belief to life, then there absolutely is something to it. So in this conversation with Charlotte, I'm going to be digging a bit deeper, try to broaden my horizons by finding out more, to look past any preconceived judgments or stereotyping, to listen to Charlotte's story and to listen to what she has to say on a topic that I find really interesting, but again, I don't know a lot about at the moment. In this conversation, we talk about the properties of crystals, charging of them, the vibration of them. And you know what? You may not feel that actually these crystals have any powers or properties whatsoever, but like all divination tools, they can be used exactly like that as a tool. Tarot, oracle, Reiki, crystals, whatever it might be. So sit back, enjoy, and listen to this conversation as Charlotte Leech and I talk crystals. Charlotte Leech is a developing medium with a passion for crystals and animals. With a deep understanding of crystals, Charlotte runs an online shop called Out of the Earth Crystals, of which I myself have been a very satisfied customer. She also runs Ellie for Animals, a charity set up to rehome Romanian rescue dogs. But when she is not out walking the many dogs in her care, she can be found all over East Anglia at mind, body and spirit fairs selling her stunning collection. Welcome to the Psychic Explorer, Charlotte. How are you?
Oh, hello. I'm great, thank you. What an introduction. Thanks for having me.
Not at all. And we go to the same circle, and I've seen you in a few events before I knew you were at Circle, and I thought, who's this person selling crystals and what are these about? And it's always fascinated me because my other half has been really interested in crystals from day one. Not necessarily spiritual, but it seems to be once you set down this path, you sort of go down these little rabbit warrens of interests. And I really want to know more about this. So I have so many questions. To me, at the moment, and I state at the moment, crystals are pretty stones, and that's about it. They're pretty, but I don't really know anything more about them. But I know there's so much more to them. And I'm really excited to talk to you today, Charlotte, to get a bit more information from you. But before we go there, let's start at the beginning. What first sparked your interest in crystals?
Well, crystals have been a part of my life from a very young child because my father had a crystal wholesale business when I was growing up. So I've always been around crystals and their energy, and it was a new age wholesale business. So he had mediums that worked for him. So I've always been in that space, really. They've always been a part of my life.
That's amazing. So it literally has been in the family.
Yeah. So my dad is retired now. He has been for about 15 years. And as a child, I would go on work trips with him to some of the world's biggest gem shows out in America. So I was always sort of part of the process of picking the crystals. And usually it was the sparkly, pretty ones, being a little girl and with my sister as well. But my other passion is animals. So I kind of went down that path more. And it's only sort of in the last 5-6 years I've really sort of shown a bigger interest in the crystals, and that's now why I have my own business surrounding crystals.
So what sparked that? Was that the retirement of your dad and you taking over the business, or was that something else?
So I would say a big part of that was in 2019 I was struggling a bit. My background is I'm a dog behaviourist, and that's what I studied at university. And obviously I've been involved in running a rescue for over 11 years now. And I had a really difficult foster dog, a long-term foster dog that, without going into too much detail, she spent most of her life in a kennel in a public shelter in Romania in very poor conditions. And she came over. I unexpectedly ended up with her, and she had a lot of health problems, and she had dementia as well. So it was very difficult, and I was rather stressed. And a friend of mine, Helen, she lives in Manchester, and she'd been attending an animal energy conference every year, and I'd always thought, I wonder what's that about. And she invited me along in 2019, and I just felt a real pull to go there. So I went, and I had the most incredible few days, and I really do feel it was life-changing. I met a lady called Elizabeth Whiter there, and she runs the Healing Animals organisation. And I felt very drawn to her. And actually, I feel that our paths were meant to cross, because I realised that her name had been mentioned to me twice before in the past. It had come up, and I'd lost, I'd jotted down her name in the past, lost the piece of paper. So I met her, and I went on a foundation course in animal healing with her. It was in discussion with her and about my father with his crystals, and knowing that we still had some of his crystals, she said, why don't you sell some of them whilst you're on the course? So really it was Elizabeth sort of pushing me down that path, and doing the year-long healing diploma for animals. That is also what got me more into that space as well. I guess I went with the intention of healing animals because of my experiences of working with traumatized animals, but actually it was like a healing journey for myself. And so I would say that was the turning point, really. Over the last sort of year and a half, 2 years, I've really focused just on the crystals. The crystals help me help the animals as well financially.
So you are a developing medium.
Yeah.
Did that kick off with your interest in crystals when that kicked off, or was that always in the background?
I think it's always been in the background. I'd had some experiences as a child. I've obviously always been around spiritual people, and my mum would regularly go to a spiritualist church, and I'd go with her. Even as a child, when I used to just go and take a notebook and scribble in it and not really understand what was happening. So I guess I've kind of always been interested, but I'm not sure really what sort of sparked me. It was really, I wanted to start developing more, and Nicola mentioned that she would be running a circle if I was interested. So I've sort of been in her circle from the start. And so Nicola has been a big sort of impact in my life as well, and guiding me in the right direction, and a big support.
Yeah. We've done platform together, and I've witnessed how talented you are. Some of the evidence that you come through is just phenomenal. It's amazing. And I wonder, how have crystals played a role in your psychic or your mediumship development?
Yeah, I definitely feel that they do support. One of my go-to crystals for when I'm working in my mediumship is clear quartz. I feel that that's a crystal that very much resonates with me, and it is sort of there to activate your crown chakra and your spiritual connection. And clear quartz is often my go-to. Just the other day, in Circle, we did a meditation that involved rainbows and working with colour. And I could feel my pendant around my neck getting stronger and stronger, my clear quartz pendant. And when it came to working in pairs, I actually had to take off for a moment because the energy felt so intense. But I really felt it was really supporting me and really getting me ready and raring to go.
Wow, there's a physical connection that you have to it.
Absolutely, yeah. And obviously I'm surrounded by crystals all the time. I have them all over my house and I'm wearing them. So sometimes I guess the energy can get a little bit too intense and I have to make sure I ground myself. But there are certain crystals, what can just be described as an intense feeling. That's the only way to describe it, really.
Well, I've not planned this question, so forgive me for springing this one on you, but this is my scientific, logical brain coming into play here. What's the science behind it? Like, is there a vibration? Is it because they've been created so deep in the earth? What is it about them?
So we're all energy, quoting Einstein. Crystals, they all have their own frequencies and they vibrate and transmit this, and this aligns with and interacts with our own energy field. So this is how they're able to help us in different areas of our body and different aspects of our life. And when you think about it, the world is practically made up of crystals. They even use quartz in watches. So there's definitely something to it with their energy. They're formed over thousands and millions of years. And I know not everyone can necessarily feel the energy of a crystal. And I think that comes when you're tapping more into your spirituality. And I find through meditation, same with your mediumship. Because, some scientists, they will say, well, yeah, crystals work because they're a placebo effect. But this is where I love my work with animals, because there is no placebo effect with an animal. Some things that really stick in my mind is my own cat is very curious about my crystals. I have a huge amethyst bed and I have just found him occasionally just curled up on it and it's spiky. So you think, okay, that's not the most comfortable place to sleep. So I do feel he's absorbing the energy. And a friend, she's a mad cat lady. She loves her cats, very enthusiastic about her cats and has quite a few rescues. She lost one of her cats and really did, her existing cats that were still here were quite subdued. And she bought a piece of amethyst from me. And again, she sent me a beautiful picture. I think it was her cat Mango. And he was curled up next to the crystal, just absorbing the energy. I have a rescue dog from China. She was in a puppy mill and was being sold for dog meat. So she's had quite a lot of trauma. She's one of my dogs that just shows such an interest in my crystals. And it was the snow quartz in particular with its soft energy. I have a picture of her just lying next to it with her head resting on the crystal.
Wow.
I had a message from a new customer a while ago. They have a poorly dog that has cancer. So she bought some crystals to help her dog. Now, she placed them in her dog's bed, and obviously the dog had a choice to sleep next to them or not. But it was actually her other dog that had injured itself that day that for the first time ever curled up in the other dog's bed next to the crystals. And it really just blew her and her mother's mind, because they were like, wow, because they're just getting into crystals themselves and they can already see how their animals responded to the crystal energy. And I think this is the thing. A lot of people tell me, oh, I collected crystals as a young child. And I think this is the same when it comes to, our psychic work. So many children are in tune. It's because they've not been conditioned. I think there's something in that as well, just thinking about it, how so many children like to collect crystals, but then they move on with other areas of their life and maybe forget about them, but then maybe explore them again later on in life.
What you're saying, Charlotte, is resonating with me so much. And I find it fascinating because straight away you're saying, well, yes, we use quartz in watches. And of course we do. I'd never even made that connection before. An animal can't lie. They don't lie. They either are or they aren't. And you are in such a unique position to be able to almost experiment to see if this works or if this doesn't. And from what you're saying, the results are clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, what you're saying about the children, my other half collected crystals and has a whole bag full of them. They were bought up from his parents when they moved house, and there was just a shoebox full of crystals that he collected as a child. And now, he doesn't believe in any of this stuff. This is, to him, this is like, no, this is just too woo-woo. But he was the one that collected them, and I find that really, really interesting.
Exactly.
You said earlier on that you use clear quartz. I mean, you have, I don't know if it's thousands or hundreds of crystals in your collection. How do you choose which crystals work with certain readings or certain energy works? Are you drawn to them? Is it your background knowledge of knowing which works with what? How does that work?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it is just your intuition, the first one that you feel that aligns with that reading, with that person. Another basis, and I guess when I was first starting out, I would look at the chakras, the 7 main chakras, and you'll have crystals that align with those. And a good tip for people really is a lot of the chakras, so you get your yellow crystals, so they align with your solar plexus, and your pink and green crystals will align with your heart chakra. So that's a good way of remembering. A lot of the dark, like the blacks, they will be quite grounding crystals and protective. So yeah, it's quite easy when you sort of start looking into it, really. And I know there are thousands of different crystals, and some I've never had or I can't even pronounce. Some of them have got crazy names.
Oh, thank God. I thought I was the only one. Some of the ones that I bought from you, I was like, oh, I don't know, this little yellow one here, I love it. It's beautiful. And sometimes when I meditate, I just hold it with me, but I have no idea what it's called. It's stunning. But
the orange calcite.
There you go. Thank you very much. Yes, it's the orange one in my vocabulary. So yeah, it's
yeah.
So the chakras, I know, again, this is another topic I'm not fully aware of. I know that chakras are associated with different colors. So you're saying that different crystals that align or are the same colors as those chakras align with those chakras?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so we have 7 main energy points, as a lot of people like to call them, or they're named as chakras in our bodies. There are more, but the 7 main ones, they are all linked to the endocrine system and an endocrine gland. And these energy points will sort of, if they're unbalanced, they can affect us physically, mentally and spiritually. So that's why having treatment like Reiki or working with crystals just helps align and balance those chakras.
And this has been going on for thousands of years, hasn't it?
Not something new.
Is that part of what you love about it, is being connected to something so ancient in such a modern world?
Yeah, the Egyptians, for example, how they would use crystals, and ancient tribes. I know there's a crystal, dragon blood jasper. They would channel the energy of the dragon just before going into battle. So I just think it's fascinating. And what I'm really excited about is I've got quite a bit of it recently, and some huge pieces of petrified wood from Indonesia. And it dates back to the tertiary period. And I just think, wow, through volcanic activity, the wood and the trees, the lava has washed over them, killed off the microbes, and over the years, silica-rich minerals have seeped into that wood and crystallized within the wood. So you'll get your quartz and your chalcedonies and your jaspers. So you've got the benefits there of the crystals and the wood and the history that comes with it. Another one that really fascinates me as well is amber, especially Burmese amber, because it's 100 million years old, which just absolutely...
How much?
100 million years old.
Oh my God.
So this is the times of the dinosaurs. So I think this is what excites me as well, my geeky side. And I had some pieces recently where they had insects within the amber. So I just think, wow, that little fly there, that was around with the dinosaurs. So I just think it's that connection to these ancient times. And I think when we're tapping into these crystals as well, perhaps we're connecting on a soul level to them. And I guess sometimes maybe why we like that crystal so much, because we have a history of that time.
And going back to what you were saying earlier on about the vibration, that crystal has been forming over literally hundreds of millions of years. It can't not have absorbed all that energy in the earth.
Yeah, and I think this is where crystals are great to meditate with as well, because it can take you back to that time.
You said earlier on, again, I'm going to go back to the clear quartz. So one of my questions was, do you have a favourite crystal or one that you always carry with you? So I presume that would be your crystal quartz or your clear quartz.
That's one of my favourite pendants that I wear. I feel very connected to it. But I have many, many, many favourite crystals. I guess it's what I need at the time, but I do have... For example, I love labradorite simply because I just love the colours. You get the blue flashes, the greens, the yellows, the pinks, the purples. It's just beautiful to look at. Some of them it's just really, I guess, purely for how they look. But also one that I guess I've needed quite a bit over the last couple of years, where I had 4 senior dogs pass back to back. So it was, a lot of heartache, my emotions were very up and down. So rhodonite was a very good crystal. So I have got quite a collection of rhodonite now because I kept feeling drawn to it. And I do feel it supported me through my grief. And yeah, healing my heart, obviously, although we have the ability to connect to the other world, as I like to say, it's, we are still human and we live in this physical world, and yeah, we miss physical beings.
Yeah. You are talking to a total novice here, but I have heard, I've got a friend in the village that I live in, and she's massively into her crystals. And she was telling me that around her house, she is convinced that there are magpie and crow nests full of her crystals, because when she puts them out to charge in her garden, she comes out in the morning and the magpies have stolen them. And I said to her, charge? What are you talking about? And she was talking about charging and cleansing her crystals in the moonlight. Can you walk me through that a bit more? What is that about?
Yeah, so crystals will absorb energy, whether it's positive or negative. To have the crystal working back to its full ability, you want to cleanse it. And by doing so, there's a number of ways you can cleanse a crystal, just by running water, ideally a natural source of water, but you can just run it under the tap. A lot of it is about setting that intention as well.
I was going to ask you about that. Is it intention?
Yeah. There's various methods. I'm a big fan of sound. So I have a buffalo drum, I have a singing bowl, tuning forks. So all of those, the sound waves will vibrate the crystal and release any stuck or stagnant energy. And it just brings the crystal back to its natural state. A lot of people like to use sage or Palo Santo. I do that sometimes, but normally just for a few minutes, because I am asthmatic and I am obviously cautious of my animals in the home as well, giving them a choice whether they breathe it in or not. So yeah, those are sort of ways that you can cleanse your crystal. And that's like kind of giving them a spiritual bath, so to speak. Whereas charging them is like almost like feeding them. By charging them on a full moon, That's just adding, just so they can work to their full ability. Sunlight as well, but obviously some crystals, they might fade in the sunlight, like amethyst and rose quartz. But some crystals like carnelian and black obsidian, they're great, fine to be outside in all the elements. And also you've got selenite and clear quartz. They will also charge other crystals.
So they're like mini batteries.
Yeah, exactly. So one of my best sellers are the selenite plates and the bowls, because they're easy then. People can just put their crystals on or around them, and that will give them a charge.
And we are recording this on a full moon, so will your garden be full of crystals tonight?
Some of my own personal ones, yes, but the easiest way for me, and obviously where I do take my crystals to shows and a lot of people pick them up and see them, the easiest thing for me is sound, which is why I like it, because then I can just, go around with my drum or my singing bowl, and that will cleanse them.
I'd love to see that. Charlotte walking around her house, followed by dogs, just banging her drum and singing her and doing her bowls.
Really paints a picture, yeah.
It does, it does. And what a fabulous image to end part 1 on. If you wanted to reach out to me, you can find me on Threads, Instagram and Facebook, the.psychic.explorer. I would love to hear from you, and what I would really especially love is to hear your voice. Send me a voice note. If you've got a tale you want to tell me, if you've got something you want to say, send me a note on Instagram and I'll try to include it in a future episode. But for now, let's get back to Charlotte with some more practical tips on how crystals can work for you. So you've been brought up with this, you've gone to America, you've gone to the big gem shows with your father. When you started to share your interest in crystals back in 2019, how did your friends and family respond?
Well, my family, I guess my dad felt quite proud actually, because obviously he's retired now, and it's given him a new lease of life as well, because I'm actually teaching him some things, because there's new crystals being discovered all the time. So I'm showing him crystals that he's never seen before. So in terms of my parents, yeah, they're very pleased. There's a pride there. With my friends, I guess it's not so. I think my friends, they've always known I've been a little bit spiritual. I guess in terms of where I was in the dog behaviour world, and it's all very science-based, the behaviour work that I did, some maybe don't understand it or see a place for it. And I kind of have drifted away from some people. And I think that's just a natural thing with life, though.
Has stepping onto this path brought any self-doubt? And if so, how have you learned to manage it?
Well, I think it's quite natural for a lot of people when they're starting something maybe new to have self-doubt and to maybe compare themselves to others and how others are doing. But as a very wise lady that we know often quotes, comparison is the thief of joy. So I think it's through experience and through practice that we gain confidence, and trust is a very big word that I often say to myself, especially when I'm, doing my mediumship. I've learned to trust the information that I get, and I've learned to trust, it's my team, and it's building up a relationship with my guides and my helpers and spirit. So, and I really do think, if anyone's just starting out on this journey, it really is about practice. And this is where joining a development circle is great, because you get to have that practice. And, there's no judgment there. Everyone's, in the same boat. We're all sort of exploring these new avenues, and we've all been pulled there for a reason. So, yeah, I do think that helps. And obviously, positive feedback also helps. Now, I'm a dog trainer, so I train my dogs with positive reinforcement. So I do feel like I need that a little bit myself as well. But I just think, yeah, it's time we build up our own confidence, and we really should trust in our own abilities. And why can't we do these things?
Thinking about your mediumship and your crystals, so compared to when you started out, how have your beliefs or understanding evolved? And again, I would like you to relate that to both your crystals and your mediumship.
I would say I'm more open-minded. Although I've been brought up around all of this, it's only, I guess, in my 30s now that I've really shown more of an interest and wanting to learn more. So I definitely do see that I have developed. And I know when it comes to learning about the crystals and how they can help, I know I have friends that have been with me from the start, and even my mum, when she's seen me at shows, she's like, wow, you've really matured as well.
Do you feel that your crystals have helped your mediumship?
I definitely do believe they have. And I do think with a lot of things, and with your crystals, it can be good to set the intention with them. So many people just think they're going to get a crystal and, oh, it's going to do this and change my life, or I'm not going to feel this way anymore. But it's about the intention. So it's also then your mindset as well. I have to say, doing the platform work a few weeks back, just before leaving, I really felt drawn to wearing a seraphinite bracelet, which I had in my stock, and I didn't have one of my own. And I thought, no, I've got to take one out of the stock. And it's quite an expensive mineral because it's rare and it's from Russia. So it's quite pricey. So I wasn't going to have one for myself, but I just felt the need to wear it. And I've actually been wearing it pretty much every day since. And that crystal in particular is known for connection to angels and to the spirit world. So, and it's the stone of transformation. So I do feel that I needed to have that bracelet, and it was just working on platform. Yes, I could have done the platform work without it, and I probably would have been the same. But I guess for me mentally, having that bracelet helped.
Yeah. And it's a physical manifestation of your intention.
Yeah. Crystals are not in place of medical reasons. Don't take your pills and just take crystals. I'm not, you can't say that to people, but I have had people come to me and they truly have believed that the crystals have helped them with really, severe illnesses. I really do believe that they do play their part. My dad had an accident at Christmas, and he had a piece of golden healer, which is known to help through illness. And he truly believes that helped him recover quicker. And even the doctors and nurses in the hospital were very interested in his crystals. And I ended up visiting him and giving some of the nurses crystals as well to have on them whilst they're at work. So yeah, it's just sort of spreading that joy as well.
Okay, now I've got an image of your dad in the hospital bed surrounded by candles and stones and rocks.
And the funny thing is, when I speak about my dad and having a crystal business, everyone paints him as being this like hippie, where he's not at all. He is actually, he worked in the stock exchange as an accountant for many years. So he's not that image that anyone, would paint in their head when I talk about him. It's quite funny, really.
Yeah. Crystals can feel like, you're throwing these names and these words out at me, and I love it. It's amazing. But they can feel like such a huge world. What is your advice to someone just starting out who might feel a bit overwhelmed?
Yeah, so if they wanting to get into crystals but feeling a bit overwhelmed because there's just hundreds out there, I have this, regularly at my events. People are drawn to them but don't really know where to start. Often, whilst they're standing there in front of me, I say, is there a particular crystal you feel drawn to right now? And it could just be because that one's sparkly, but I want to know what they're drawn to, because so many times they give me a long list of things they need help with. I ask them what they were drawn to, and often that actually pairs to that crystal. So intuition is a big thing. You don't have to necessarily be, working as a psychic or a medium or sort of in this line of work. Everyone has got intuition. And it's just, obviously, we're tapping into it and building on it when we're developing as mediums. Firstly, I would say what are you drawn to? Some of the main ones, the popular ones, would be your quartz, so like your clear quartz, your rose quartz, and your amethyst. They're sort of three of the main ones. There's a lot of people wanting support for mental health and that are very stressed and anxious. So I get asked that question a lot. And there are things like amethyst, fluorite and lepidolite, which I often recommend. And lepidolite is one of my best sellers because it's a lithium rich mineral. So it's great for stress and anxiety. It brings peace. And it's also good for women's hormonal cycles. So a lot of women are wanting that crystal. I know I always do a certain time of a month want to be wearing that crystal.
Yeah, internet helps. Why not?
Yeah. Firstly, is there one that you're drawn to, or maybe go for one that pairs up to what you're wanting help with?
So you're saying just don't be put off by what the official descriptions are of what the official personalities or properties that a crystal might have. Instead, see how it feels.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't get too hung up because, there's hundreds of books out there. Some of them can have various definitions for the crystal. A lot of the information, not all of the information, but a lot of the information is actually just being channeled. And that's channeled from the source. So there's wonderful people like Judy Hall, who has an array of books, the Crystal Bible. That's somebody that my dad worked with throughout the years. She's actually passed now, but she's left amazing amount of information here on Earth, and her daughter is still running some things in her honour. So there is a lot of information out there. But exactly. How does that crystal feel for you?
Have you heard of lithomancy?
No, I haven't.
It's if you're into crystals, I would seriously suggest you look into this. I was listening to a podcast and a guy was talking about it, and it's basically tarot, but instead of using tarot cards, he uses crystals.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And apparently it's a really rare topic. Only a few people out there do it. But yeah, he uses, instead of using tarot cards, he's got his bag of crystals and he just puts his hand in and he reads tarot, but through crystals. Like each crystal will have a different property, as you're saying, and he'll give the reader a reading based on the type of crystals that he pulls.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Yeah, because I have crystal oracle cards. I've got quite a few different crystal oracle cards, which I like to play with. But yeah, no, that's nice. Yeah, I like that.
I haven't got a big enough collection of crystals to do it, but you might, so.
Yeah.
Charlotte, thank you so much for coming on this evening. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot as well.
Oh, good.
So final question before I let you go this evening, Charlotte. What has been the most surprising or challenging part of your journey so far?
Well, I think the surprising thing is just how much enjoyment that you can get out of, for me, what essentially is my work. And it's going to these, especially the mind, body, spirit fairs, where you're meeting so many different people, they're their true, authentic selves, and they have different gifts and talents to share with the world. So, and I know that through my training, like how I really embrace colour, and that was with my healing, with my animal healing as well, how much colour played a part where I never thought it would, and how I visualised the colour around the animal and things like that. And I'm really interested in spirit art now as well. And I think maybe through experiences when I was younger, child, teenager, I'd seen some spirit artists and I just found it a little bit spooky, some of the images that would get drawn, because I think, oh, they're drawing someone in spirit. But it's actually realising that spirit art, and you don't have to be an artist. And I know that this is something that we've done in our development circle. You're just, you could be working with someone soul to soul, and it's just the image that comes to you, and then it's interpreting it. So you're almost drawing your own oracle card, and you're reading from it. You're looking at maybe the image of a flower, like a rose, and what color is the rose, and why is it that color, and the information that you can get from it. And I just think it's tapping into that creative side. So I think that has surprised me.
That's really interesting because that's not the sort of answer I was expecting. Normally, when I ask these questions, people come back with people's judgment, the ways that they maybe their families have changed around them. But with you, it's more about the toolboxes that are available to you for you to use to practice your mediumship or your psychic work. Just quickly to go on to that then. So how do you deal with judgment? Have you had people judge you, or have you had people poo-poo you? I know we've sort of touched on this briefly with friends and family earlier on, but what about judgment? Because that's so hard for me to get past sometimes.
You're always going to get judgment from people being in this line of work that thinks it's a load of rubbish, and that's their opinion, because everyone's entitled to their opinion. We are all on our own individual soul journeys, and I just try to remind myself that now when people are maybe not so nice, I just say this is their journey, and that's rather than reacting. So I guess there's learning to being your true self and not letting anyone pull you down or berate you. And this is my business as well, selling crystals. So there is that part of it. But I just put my faith in the universe, and that life will guide me where I need to go and always provide.
And what an absolutely beautiful sentiment to end on. Thank you so much, Charlotte. I've really, really enjoyed listening to you and learning so much from you. Where can listeners find you if they want to reach out to you?
So I do have an online shop, which is www.outoftheearthcrystals.com. And my email is the same, outoftheearthcrystals@gmail.com. And I'm on all the social media platforms as well. So yeah, many ways.
Brilliant. And you are specialised, well, you're based in East Anglia, so you do all the mind, body and spirit fairs. So do you have a list of events that you go to?
Yeah, so I do share that on my social media and on my website monthly, where I'm going to be that month. I do also venture out to Sussex, because that's where the Healing Animals organisation is based. So I go there about once a month, and the Harry Edwards Healing Centre when they have fairs running in Surrey. So I do spread out outside of East Anglia. I did a fair this year in, where was that? Oh, Milton Keynes, that's the one. So, which is lovely as well, because you're meeting lots of different people each time, and that's what I like.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. I really loved it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been great chatting to you.
And that was Charlotte. How wonderful was that? I know a lot of the words and the names of the crystals that Charlotte was using were washing over me. And maybe they were washing over you too. But what she was saying about choosing crystals that spoke to you really chimed with me. You don't have to necessarily worry about what the official properties are. It's about what you're drawn to and what is drawn to you. If you are using your intuition, then you are going to choose the right one for you. The crystals that I've bought from Charlotte, I'm guilty of buying them because they're pretty. And I wanted something nice for my recording office, which makes it sound far more glamorous than it actually is. It's just about bedroom. But there was also something that Charlotte said which really struck me about intention and what I have chosen to take forward around divination. You can use absolutely anything. As long as there is intention in whatever it is that you are using, you don't have to go out and spend loads and loads of money on crystals. You might want to use jewellery that you already have, or fashion. I mean, you could argue fashion is the biggest magic work going. It doesn't physically change you, but it makes you feel a certain way. It makes you present yourself to the world in a certain way. It can give you confidence. It can make you feel sexy. And it's exactly the same for crystals, exactly the same for pendants or charms. Whatever it is that you want to use, it's all about the intention you put into it. Once again, I would really like to thank Charlotte. She was so generous with her time. I mean, she is so generous anyway. She helps run a wonderful animal charity. And actually, if you want to support Charlotte with her charity, you can find them online. Eli for Animals, that's ELI for Animals. They've got their own website, eliforanimals.co.uk. And actually, while we're on the topic of dogs, I want to thank Charlotte's dogs because as we were recording that conversation, they did not utter a single peep. I think she fed them just beforehand just to preempt any bark. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, Charlotte, and thank you to your dogs. Just going back to the crystals for a moment though, I asked Charlotte about lithomancy, about divining information from reading the crystals like tarot or oracle cards. And when I first heard that podcast, a part of me thought, oh, no, that doesn't feel right. Or what does that even mean? But actually thinking about it, I had exactly the same reaction when I went to my first development circle and they brought out a box full of oracle and tarot cards. I thought, how does this even work? And it does, because I use it during my readings. They help connect me to messages. They help connect me. So I am going to open my mind up and I'm going to try to use crystals more in my mediumship, or at least in my psychic work. I don't have many, but the ones that I do have are quite nice. So I'm going to just see where that goes and I will let you know. So all that is left for me to say is thank you for listening. Let me know what you thought. What are your thoughts on crystals? Do you use them? Do they help you? Or do you use some other talisman or object to help you in your spirituality? Remember, you can find me at the.psychic.explorer. The next episode is a solo episode. I've not recorded it yet, so I'm not sure what it's going to be about. But the next guest episode is my circle leader, Nicola Gigi. It is such a wonderful conversation because it gave me an opportunity to get to know Nicola some more. And we have a conversation about circle. What is circle? Who is circle for? What one should expect from circle? We explore how she started, and we also look at her philosophy and the philosophy that shaped her spirituality. If you enjoyed Dana Willey's episode a few episodes back, you're going to really enjoy Nicola's. So that is coming up. On that note, I will leave it there. Thank you so much again for listening, guys. Sending you all my love. Take care. Bye.